Welcome, welcome, welcome to another round of inspiration for you. If you are stuck in a job, you're thinking about leaving your job, but you don't know how to leave and what you could do instead, these interviews are speedy interviews to give you inspiration of what is possible for you. Because today we have Nicole, and Nicole will tell us her little story and what she does now. And if you like this content, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and make sure to look for the resources below because there are free resources below to help you on your journey to freedom. Let's discuss this freedom path. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Rachel. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So tell us, where are you located right now, by the way?
I'm in Seattle, Washington.
Okay, cool. And tell us what you do right now.
So I am a work-life balance coach and an author.
You know, the viewer here is watching, stuck in a job, wanting to leave, no idea, how can I even leave this job? I've been doing it for several years. So take us back a little bit to tell us what job you did or jobs, and then what was that moment like, nope, 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 I don't want this anymore.
Yeah, I'm going to take you way back, Rachel. So I used to be a journalist or reporter, and it was one of those gigs, and it's one of those gigs of contribution. So I had a job where I felt like I was serving the public. And it was one of those jobs, too, where it's like you get in and you're supposed to be in for 30 years. And the end goal is the New York Times. Like that's just how it works. And so for me, I was like plugging away, working at small newspapers and going to different places. And I got my first job full time at the Anchorage Daily News in Alaska. So it was like this exciting adventure. And I was in this big new job. And I was actually pulled onto a story about Catholic sex abuse, which was a big project and very prestigious to be working on. And during the time, so I did it, we had this huge project come out, we won a bunch of awards. And then a year after that project started, one of my sources committed suicide. And that was a moment for me that was very intense. I was in my mid-20s and I was like, ooh, like I didn't have any resources to handle it. I went to a therapist. And it's interesting because at that time, now I know looking back, that was the moment I knew that job was not for me. And I remember at that time, I said to myself, even if they paid me $1 million a year, like this is not worth it. Like this is too much. This is too intense. Of course, I stayed in journalism for another 7 years.
Wow.
I tried. So I tried, like I covered politics. I moved to the Seattle Times. I was in features. And really, I didn't ever feel during that whole time like my life was mine. And so I went to a yoga teacher training during that time. I was doing a lot of yoga. That was like my happy place. And then I really got that first call to leave my corporate job and to go teach yoga. So that was my first big transition, was leaving this relatively secure place to go be on my own and work for a bunch of yoga studios and teach yoga. So that was the first stage. And that was a really big, I would say that was my biggest leap, is being able to leave that secure environment, the retirement, all of those things you get in a corporate job, relatively corporate job, and what I thought was a lifelong job, to then go be a yoga teacher, which was a really drastic change.
Yeah, and I just want to stop you for one moment because it's funny how you said, like, you already had this thought of like, wait, this is not it. This is not my life. But yet you stayed another 7 years. And that's what most people do, because it's like, it's familiar. We know it. It's earning good money. We're climbing. You even said that, like I was climbing, to get that promotion after promotion. So it's what we think, like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. So let me continue that. So there you were. And that was your first really, big leap, right? And into obviously from corporate to yoga. So that was the first one. But you're a work-life balance coach now. So take us through that transition.
Well, I did the high achieving career woman and I applied it to yoga and I went really crazy with yoga. And then actually the paper came back to me and wanted me to freelance a column for them. So I started writing a fitness column. I was teaching 10 to 12 yoga classes a week. And I got a job at a yoga company, which was kind of like a secure corporate type of yoga job. So I was in the middle of all of that and I'm working 60 hours a week. And so I kind of repeated that same pattern again, Rachel, where I was like in this little bit of insane place. And then I heard the call actually to write a book. And during that time, I was like, I don't have any energy, capacity, time to do that. And that was when I had to make another leap and actually really start to trust that that was correct. And the only way I was going to have the space and time in my life to do it was to quit the secure corporate yoga job. And so I did. And that was half my income a month at the time. And so I had to just drop that and then listen to the call. And then I just sort of floundered a little bit after I did it. I spent 3 months taking writing classes and looking around the internet, like, how do you get a agent? How do you write a proposal? But 3 months after I quit that job, I got an email from a local publisher in Seattle, and they said, "Hey, Nicole, we're looking for someone to write some books for us around yoga. Are you
Mm.
interested?" And so
Wow.
that's, yeah, so that's how I got my first
Yeah.
2 books, Yoga for Hikers and Yoga for Climbers.
This is so interesting, Nicole. So interesting, the two leaps that you've done. But you mentioned something really important, and that is income. And I want to talk about income. I want to talk about money because, yes, we can climb that ladder and earn more and earn more. And I was in the same spot. And then, where do you make a choice? Like, okay, I'm ready to earn less, but have more, what do you call it? Fulfillment, freedom. So, how did you make that choice? Were you alone? Did you have a partner who provided for you? How did you decide on it's okay for me to earn less because it's what I want to do?
Well, I have had a really interesting journey on this, Rachel, because my corporate job never paid that much. So my journey has been always that I actually did make less. Like, I didn't make a ton as a yoga teacher, and I had to make less to write my books. And so for me, I've had a long space of like scarcity around never having enough. And then I'm going to fast forward you a little bit. So I felt the call to launch my coaching business. And at the time I was married. And so he did actually support us to some degree while that was happening, help pay for the mortgage and all of those places. And I was only a year into my business when we separated. And all of a sudden, I had to confront what really
Yes.
was going on for myself around wealth and income, because I had this big house to pay for. I have my dog, I have my life. I like to travel. I have friends. I want to eat dinner out, right? So I really actually had to start to change my mentality around what I was worth in terms of valuing myself and really valuing my business and what I do as a
Yeah.
coach. And that actually was such a turning point because my roster filled up almost as soon as we separated. And I saw for myself that I was letting him really earn the money and support us. And that when it was up to me and I really stepped into a different place of power for myself, that's actually when my coaching business really started to grow.
Wow. That is so powerful, so powerful. And I relate so much because I'm a sole provider as well, right? And I know a lot of people, they can take the risk maybe faster or sooner or, because they have a partner who provide. But if you have to earn your own income, you have to really consider these things. And so for you, it was really valuing your worth and valuing. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, valuing my worth comes in terms of how much I value myself so much that I value my services. I value what I provide. I value what I do with my clients. And that's not to say I don't want to make my services accessible. Like, I offer scholarships, I try to offer a lot of different free things. And at the same time, when it comes to like my main clients and my courses, is really valuing what I'm teaching and what I'm coaching and the experience that I have, which is really big, to say, okay, like, this is how much it costs to work with me. And then having people see the value in it as well. Like, because I value myself, my clients actually also see the value in working with me. And that's really allowed me
Yes,
to thrive financially and support myself and
absolutely.
to really support people who want to work with me.
Yeah. So powerful, so important. And it's also work that I have done, like, yes, we are worth it. We have experience, we have value, you have to feel worthy. And it's, for me, it was, my first book was also that I wrote was about self-confidence. I really had to grow my self-confidence, and feeling worthy is such a big part of that. It's like, hey, here I am, stop people pleasing, Rachel, stop being that perfectionist, and yeah, feel worthy and feel like, yes, I can do this, right? And no more doubting myself, and no more limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome and all of that. Well, you know what I'm talking about. So one more little thing about this money issue, and then we'll go to the final question, is um, yes, you are worthy. Yes, you can name your prices, but at the end of the day, you need to find your clients. So I think that's a question that would come up to most people, like, okay, yes, great, but where do you find your clients?
Mhm. Well, this is interesting. I work with some people around business, and one of the biggest things to remember is like your own life experience is really your clientele. Like, who you are and the challenges you've been through, like the people are going to be drawn to you because of that experience. And so really look at yourself as like the first person. And now I'm in a really happy, thriving relationship. And so women come into me now because they're drawn into, they're like, Nicole's in a thriving, happy relationship. Like, how'd she do that
I
after
want
a
that too.
divorce?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And so really looking at your own life is going to help you start to bring in like, who are the women that you want to serve and where are they struggling? And that's such a big part of it. Like understand their struggle. Like perfectionism is huge in my clients too. People pleasing, inner
Yeah.
critic, like really being
Yeah.
hard on yourself. And all those things happened for me every stage of my journey. And I had to keep working through that so I could value myself and say, I am
Yeah.
worth launching a business, charging prices, writing books, putting my face out on the
Yep.
internet. Like all of those things require a lot of inner
Yeah.
work to say, yep, I can stand up and do those things.
Yeah, and it's yeah, yes, yes, and yes. I mean, it's like, you know, because we experienced it, we're better coaches because we can, you know, we've been there, we felt it. Yeah, like we know exactly what they're going through. So, final super important question for everybody watching right now, Nicole, and they're stuck in a job and they want to escape, but they're not sure how to start. Like, where do I even begin? Do you have any final tip or tips for the viewer?
I'm really big on practices every day that prioritize yourself. One of the things I find for women is like they're giving away so much at work. They're so depleted. They have no energy left to consider what might be next. So a lot of women just want to quit their jobs. And I'm like, rather than quitting your job, set yourself up for success by prioritizing yourself, getting really clear, getting really connected so that you can be smart about what comes next, rather than being like, I have to make some dramatic change. And there's nothing wrong with dramatic change, but if you're so stressed at work that you have no capacity to even take care of yourself, you're going to have a very difficult time understanding that next stage and that next step. So start to carve out 5 to 10 minutes morning and night. Get yourself really connected to yourself, meditate, journal, whatever it is to calm your nervous system down, get connected to you. And that's actually going to give you much more space to see what's next rather than, you know, just quitting your job and running off.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I think it's a super important tip. And it was also my turning point when I started to look within myself. Whereas for years I was this logical, rational, like, no, 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 do. And I was asking everybody outside of me, like, hey, what should I do? And what's my purpose? And what's my passion? I don't know. And but it was within me. And the moment I started like, okay, hold on, stop asking everybody else. Let's, you know, take that time for myself. And yeah, it's so important, but I resisted it for the longest time. Thank you so much for your valuable tips. If people want to connect with you, I will put your resources right below and they can find you, my dear Nicole. And I wish you a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Rachel. So grateful for you.